Okay, let's try this again. I think I figured out the issue, but anyway, UNGRIM is here. Today we're going to be talking about him as a Lord choice for the Dwarfs. Now, in this new age of Footlords, he's quite good. Of course, he's a Dwarf, so he's got magic resistance, but mainly, he's like a Halberd Footlord, right? More or less, anti-large armor piercing, 310 AP, 30 bonus versus large. This game is from the Warhammer World Championship. This is Setzer's Dwarfs versus Black Phillip's Tomb Kings. I've been watching Black Phillip play Tomb Kings in practice over the past few weeks, so want to check this one out. Setzer I'm familiar with as well. So let's go ahead and take a look. We've got UNGRIM here, great choice. Strong anti-large footlords are amazing against Tomb Kings. They kind of were before to a degree, but now with the mass bracing bonuses for infantry actually working, he does have charge defense against large, of course, and being the Slayer King, he's also unbreakable. As I mentioned, great anti-large armor-piercing weapon strength, great stats as well, 65, 50, 120 armor, so he is quite tanky, 4,000 HP. He's pretty good for a Footlord. We've got these two gyros coming forward to threaten the Tomb King's lines. Black Phillip screening with some carrion. He's got 4 carrion here, 2 Tomb Scorpions out on the flank, whole bunch of skeleton warriors, including 2 skeleton spears, so that he can just go with as many meat shields as possible, 2 skeleton chariots, a Necrotect on a chariot, and Arkan the Black on horseback. Sphinx in the center. For the Dwarfs, we've got a front line of miners with blasting charges, a second line of Dwarf warriors with 4 Thunders and 3 Slayers. No Dragonback Slayers, but we do have the Ulthuar's Raiders with their Marked by Ulthuar debuff. And then, of course, UNGRIM hanging out over on the side. Let's get in close here. I'll keep my eye on OBS over on the side as we record this and make sure the encoder's not getting overloaded like it was last time. They're going to open up. Thunders will get some nice damage initially, taking down 1 unit of carrion, potentially even crumbling it away. Black Phillip also comes a little bit far forward with this Sphinx. He's going to take some volleys. The Necrotect, of course, can heal some of this damage back, but still, that's quite a bit of damage to have taken off the bat. There's 1 Chevron on that War Sphinx as well. The Carrion, though, are harassing the Gyros, which is a great play. They definitely need to be trying to harass, get hits on the Gyros as much as they can. The Thunderers are forced to kind of screen out for the Gyros. UNGRIM not involved yet. He's just chilling over on the side, so let's get back in close. These 2 Scorpions both getting caught up on some Slayers. Will be a pretty bloody fight. Some nice match combat animations where they, oh yeah, like grab one of the Slayers, toss them around. Got the Ulthuar's Raiders throwing some axes, though. They're doing great damage along with the Slayers to the 1 unit here. Black Phillip's doing a good job kind of disrupting. We pushed up and around the flank here with one of these skeleton chariots. The Necrotect also over on that side, looking for some potential disruption. War Sphinx now coming back in after having, taken a little bit of a beating earlier. Should be okay. Got a nice summon from Arkan in the back to help bog down some of these Thunderers. Nice rear charge, beautiful rear charge actually from the Chariot as well. Some of the Carrion come down, so the Thunderers are largely being tied down for the time being. Looking pretty good for the Tomb Kings. That being said, their kind of support infantry will eventually wear away. Arkan can continue to provide some numbers through his summons, but the Chariots are having a hard time operating due to the mass of the Dwarfs. They did get a really nice break right here, though. A couple Thunderers getting terrified away by the Tomb Scorpions, one of them marked by Ulthuar. Sphinx also over on this side. UNGRIM, where's UNGRIM at? Can we find him in here? His Mohawk, there he is. He's starting to get involved. He is just a Footlord, right? And here, Setzer's brought him with no abilities whatsoever. He doesn't really have any support abilities. It's mostly just like self-buffs, and some that even nerf his own melee defense. I would generally say just not taking any abilities on him is the best for UNGRIM, given he's got very good stats and is unbreakable. Great anti-large AP as well. Like, really, you get a lot for paying just for him by himself. The abilities don't really add a lot of value, in my opinion. Thunder is definitely feeling the sting, though, as they get dragged around by the Scorpions, the Sphinx, this nice kind of box of monsters. It's very, very brutal. You can see the Thunder is really not having a great time here. The Necrotect is able to probably restore, if we check the HP healing cap of Yeah, no heals yet on the War Sphinx, so both the restores probably still in the pocket there, but look at this one unit of Carrion's able to bog down both gyros because they're all kind of in the same area, and one gyro model even is down. The other unit's getting Spirit Leeched by Arcan. A pretty good play by Black Phillip. Arcan the Black Phillip. Anyway. This is a potentially dangerous situation, though. It's UNGRIM and Slayers, basically, trying to protect this one very tattered unit of Thunderers. And UNGRIM doesn't need much time. All he needs is to be able to get a few attack animations in, and now that he doesn't, like, get permanently knocked over, he actually can do that. He still will get staggered, but he won't get completely knocked around. Comes in for a blow against the War Sphinx. There we go. Maybe? No. Looks like the Slayers are actually blocking his way. That's a grudging for sure. Gyro's getting routed off, though. There are some dwarf units starting to come back in the periphery, and not chasing units off could potentially come back to haunt Black Phillip here. It's not like he has the greatest resources for doing so. Like, these Carrion potentially could have chased some units off, but they're busy, you know, dealing with the gyros as an active threat, which definitely makes sense. Not having any ranged units at all does put him in that situation where he just has to keep advancing, use whatever tools he can to get at these gyros, which is really just the Carrion and Spirit Leech, right? I mean, I guess the War Sphinx technically can shoot them, but really it doesn't do all that much damage. But as the fight gets longer and longer, and as the Tomb King's support units wear away, we can see another skeleton summon going down there, and pretty much the last of the skeletons here, spearmen and the regular warriors that were brought, all crumbling. The dwarf support will then kind of distract and allow UNGRIM to come in and start to get some hits. Right now, he really hasn't got too much value. If we have a look, yeah, 500 damage value right now. 6 minutes into the battle isn't great, but at the same time, he's completely healthy. Black Phillip is getting ground down slowly. If he doesn't have enough HP on all these single entities in the late game, then UNGRIM will just tank it out and be able to win, potentially. Some Thunderers coming back, getting some pretty clutch volleys right here. Arcan comes in to rout them off, but this other unit then can kind of turn here. Since the Bob's all going that way, they'll get a nice little volley here. A little bit of damage on that Tomb Scorpion always helps, but the single entity blob just kind of running around massacring all of these missile units. It's tough, definitely. That being said, Tomb Kings, I mean, Carrion just about gone at this point. These Thunderers can also come back and potentially get some damage, and UNGRIM at the center of his massive infantry here is an absolute threat at this point. Yeah, the Necrotect, not really sure. I think it got one of its restores off. I don't know if it actually got its second restore off, but here goes a Black Phillip. He's mostly just been Spirit Leeching, but decides to deploy an absolutely brutal Purple Sun in the late game here on this blob of Dwarf Infantry, and the Scorpions come in for a side charge. Beautiful Terror route. Of course, the Slayers are unbreakable. They'll keep fighting. UNGRIM and his Mohawk brethren will keep fighting until the end of days. Skeleton Summon, very timely as well, helps break all of those units, but all these dwarf units are getting broken and terrified, but again, Black Phillip doesn't really have anything to try and chase them down. Like, potentially Arcan could even go out there. Then he would be opening himself up to these other Thunders and other units. And, yeah, all this time that these guys have been fighting in here, UNGRIM has just slowly been getting some more value. He's up to 1,060 damage value off of those monsters and large targets there. And, yeah, at this point, the only support units for Tomb Kings are going to be those summoned skeleton warriors. Everything else is just going to have to stand and fight. Black Phillip keeping his monsters concentrated at this point, which is pretty interesting. He's going to throw down the Liber Mortis right here, so everything gets a little bit of physical resistance. Helps against that incidental gunfire. One Scorpion is down, though, and this other Scorpion is getting pretty low. At this point, it's going to be a problem. As long as these single entities can go 2-on-1 versus UNGRIM. The problem here is that this War Sphinx is already very, very tattered. I mean, I guess it would be 3-on-1 if you include Arcan, right? But Arcan takes a hit there. That couldn't have felt nice. Yeah, definitely a pretty solid hit there. And the Sphinx, all it needs is a few hits from UNGRIM, and even the Miner's actually doing a tiny bit of AP damage in the side and rear arcs as it passes through. Able to get a couple of incidental attacks as well. We'll keep the banners off for now. Just keep it nice and close as the Slayers get a little bit of a surround on Arcan. UNGRIM looks like he has an attack order on the Scorpion, but finally he will turn and get an attack. Boom! On Arcan. Arcan not liking that at all, down to 2,300 HP. Gonna nope out of there. War Sphinx comes back around for a nice little charge action. Brutal charge animation. Gets peppered by some of these Thunders out here in the distance. Oh, look at that red splat on the ground. We take a look at the Thunderer's point of view. You can see the Mad Mohawk chasing the War Sphinx around. One more little volley, and that should pretty much do it. Yeah, War Sphinx now crumbling away slowly but surely. A few more seconds, it'll be down. So, as the camera glitches slightly, UNGRIM turns his attention to the last of the constructs. It's just noping out, trying to get at those Thunderers. Or these Dwarf Warriors even. Unify with Arcan. Arcan comes in melee to recharge his summoning item. Few clutch volleys from these Thunderers. They're going to get immediately terrified, no doubt. Yep, in fact, probably shatter. Not quite actually shatter. The Dwarf Warrior Blob along with the Slayer King will eventually catch up. Yeah, especially once Arcan gets caught here. He has a lot less mass than the Tomb Scorpion. Tomb Scorpions have hilarious mass profiles and animations that can often carry them out of combat anyway. But UNGRIM gets to pummel some more skeletons here. One more skeleton summon allows Black Phillip to cycle charge a bit more with his single empties as per the banner rules. By the way, for those of you guys who aren't super familiar with the banner rules, I believe Aerocrastic mentioned he might be doing, I probably shouldn't say this if I don't know 100%, but I believe he's doing a stream sometime this weekend. I'll post details if I found out more about it. It's basically going over the banner rules, kind of some different case scenarios, answering questions in a Q&A live stream format, I believe is the plan. But anyway, Black Phillip is definitely doing his best to try and finish units off here. The skeleton summons in particular, just providing that extra numbers in the late game. And the Tomb Scorpion's been very active, ping-ponging between different units, not getting bogged down for too long. A lot of the Dwarves are feeling at this point. These Dwarf Warriors get terrified, Miners get terrified, and suddenly it's just UNGRIM versus the world, which consists of one unit of summoned skeletons, which will shortly be gone, and this Tomb Scorpion. UNGRIM knows exactly what to do, though. He says, "Hello, Tomb Scorpion." Gets right up in that creepy, like, base thing that it has on the front. Smashes it. A little bit of Spirit Leech actions. He's not too worried about that either. He's going to get some hits on Arcan the Black here. Scorpion charges back in, gets a little bit of a hit on him. We'll keep the health bars up now as they fight it out in this end game. Yeah, you can see UNGRIM gets staggered there. Pretty long stagger animation, but importantly, he doesn't get knocked down and have to get back up. He can get an attack in response, get staggered again, another attack. And this rhythm finishes the Tomb Scorpion. You can see some dwarfs coming back in the background there, coming back from route. Arcan now about 1,200 HP, 1,500 HP for UNGRIM, so it comes down a little bit to RNG at this point, but UNGRIM definitely has the advantage in RNG. Arcan will, in fact, block several attacks. You can see how that attack animation goes off and deals 0 damage. Essentially, that means the melee defense won over the melee attack, but there's a big hit. Not a hit there, but Arcan charges in. He's like, you know what? I'm going to deprive the Slayer King of the kill, and instead just charge into these miners, which will definitely kill me. And down he goes. Foul Servant of Nagash is done. The Slayer King takes the day, and considering the cost you pay for him, it's 1250, I believe, on UNGRIM. He basically doubled his damage value, 2567, which is awesome to see. Actually, the first campaign I ever completed way back when Total War Warhammer 1 was a brand new game. The first ever Warhammer campaign I completed was, in fact, UNGRIM Iron Fist. Fun fact. Anyway, Miners doing a pretty good job overall. The Dwarf Warriors also kind of here to mostly just grind down. One of them actually did end up getting pretty good value, 114 kills there, probably killing summoned skeletons. Slayers, of course, doing a lot of damage. Slayers are an awesome unit, and here they definitely shined against all of these large kind of constructs and chariots and Arcana. They had a lot of targets to go after. Likewise, the Thunders, same thing for them. One of them did for sure pay for itself. Another one got pretty close. Overall, it was pretty decent, but Black Phillip did a reasonably decent job of shutting them down. Like, these definitely could have got a lot more value. Same thing with the gyros. Like, in terms of actual damage value, they didn't get all that much damage done, but it was really about kind of the timing of the damage they did get helped contribute to its downfall of specific units. Ulthar's Raiders, yeah, again, same thing. Really, the Slayer is carrying a lot of that game for Setzer there. Fun stuff. Arcan, 148 kills there. That awesome Purple Sun. Great damage value. Usually for a caster of Arcan's type, you don't necessarily get a ton of damage value per se, but here that is the case. Necrotect, I don't remember exactly how he costs on the Chariot with just Restore, but I believe it's not too expensive, and that's pretty decent damage value. Plus also the healing. Unfortunately, it looked like only one heal was used on the War Sphinx, but it's definitely something. 1,000 HP, 1,000 extra HP is nothing to scoff at on that monster, which unfortunately didn't actually pay for itself. One of the Scorpions did, one of the Scorpions did not. So credit to Setzer for managing those constructs relatively well. The Carrion, bit of a mixed bag. Some of them did their role of, like, dealing with the gyros. I think it would have maybe helped, and it's tough, not to just get gatted when you're going after the gyros. With the screening fire of the Thunderers, losing a couple kind of very quickly. If Black Phillip had those towards a later game, he could have potentially used them to chase off some of these dwarf units that came back that were very tattered. Would have potentially made a difference. I don't know. UNGRIM was still reasonably healthy, but like small amount of HP he does have, I don't know, hard to say. Same thing like taking the fire on the War Sphinx at the beginning, but it's all good at the end of the day. It was still a very, very close, very good game. This one Chariot too, man, 1,745 damage value, 12,627 damage dealt, and considering the Chariots, from what it looked like in the replay, I think most of this just came on that one massive rear charge, I'm pretty sure. But regardless, definitely excellent value on that one Chariot, and nice to see Chariots actually do some work. I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of them, and they're not what they used to be, but when used appropriately, still can be quite potent. So, yeah, let's go ahead and just finish up here with UNGRIM, sort of talk about where he fits into the Dwarf Lord's structure. And well played to those two, and I will be bringing you guys definitely more games from the group stage of the Warhammer World Championship. I'll probably talk more about the rules and structure in some other videos. But anyway, not quite Clan Angren, Karak Kadrin even. Well, we'll just go to the regular dwarfs. We can look at him in comparison to Grombrindle, because really I think there's maybe a place for Thorgrim if you want to have some fun. Belegar is also not too bad, but we'll just, you know what, actually, let's pull up Belegar and compare him, because basically the idea with Belegar a lot of the time now is you just take nothing on him. 1,000 points for 60 stats, 120 armor, and a shield, 450 weapon strength. In comparison to UNGRIM, UNGRIM has a little bit less weapon strength overall, but obviously adds much better AP and anti-large. Also has plus 20 charge, 10 less melee defense, but 5 more melee attack. A little bit less HP, no shield, same armor though, but he is unbreakable, of course, right? So UNGRIM it should be seen as a similar option, basically, as like a cheap combat lord. Very cost effective if you need to be killing monsters. I would say, and you want to go with a cheap lord, I would say UNGRIM is definitely the best. I still think probably in most situations you're going to want to go with Grombrindle. I call him Gromwindle these days because, yeah, I mean, he's just like a little bit better version of UNGRIM in many ways. Higher base attack, higher base weapon strength, and he is more expensive even at his base cost, 1,500, because you do pay for this Grombrindle Has No Fear. There's no way to deselect it. He also has the Smoke Bomb, which is arguably one of the best Lord or Hero abilities for the Dwarfs, given that it can allow you to catch fast-moving mobile monsters, chariots, stuff like that. Granted, you do pay a pretty good premium over it, but both are unbreakable. Grombrindle just like has better, again, just slightly better overall in my opinion, like expert charge defense instead of charge defense against large. Yeah, he also has magic attacks, which is very nice situationally. Way more HP too, almost 800 more HP, and plus 5 armor. So, I mean, literally in just every way, Grombrindle is slightly better than UNGRIM, and generally I would say he's the best choice for dwarfs in almost every situation. But UNGRIM, if you want to cheap out and go with a little bit wider army for whatever reason, you really want that extra, you know, what is it, 400 points, that extra unit of dwarf warriors or whatever else, yeah, then maybe you go with UNGRIM instead. Or, of course, for the Mohawk factor, because let's not mistake the fact that he's one of the most stylish lords, probably the most stylish lord for the dwarves. I'm gonna go ahead and say that for sure. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification every time I upload a new video. You'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.